The Scarface Mystery. Scarface is a 1983 American crime film directed by Brian De Palma and written by Oliver Stone. Spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't seen it. In 1980, Cuban refugee and ex-con Antonio "Tony" Montana arrives in Miami, Florida as part of the Mariel boat lift, where he is sent to a refugee camp with his best friends, Manny Rivera, Angel, and Chi-Chi. The four are released and given green cards in exchange for assassinating a former Cuban government official at the request of wealthy drug dealer Frank Lopez. They become dishwashers in a diner, to Tony's disgust, proclaiming he was meant for bigger things. Frank's right-hand man, Omar Suarez, gives them a job, purchase cocaine from Colombian dealers, but the deal goes bad. Angel is dismembered with a chainsaw, while Manny and Chi-Chi rescue Tony and kill the Colombians. Suspecting that Omar set them up, Tony and Manny insist on personally delivering the recovered drugs and money to Frank. During their meeting, Tony is attracted to Frank's trophy wife, Elvira Hancock. Frank hires and befriends Tony and Manny. Months later, Tony visits his mother Georgina and younger sister Gina, of whom he is fiercely protective. Disgusted by his life of crime, Georgina throws Tony out. Manny is attracted to Gina, but Tony angrily tells him to stay away from her. Frank sends Tony and Omar to Bolivia to meet with cocaine kingpin Alejandro Sosa. Tony negotiates a deal without Frank's approval, angering Omar, who leaves to contact Frank. Sosa claims that Omar is a police informant and that Frank is weak. Tony witnesses a beaten Omar hanged from a helicopter. Tony vouches for Frank's organization. Sosa, taking a liking to Tony, agrees to the deal, but not before warning Tony to never betray him. Back in Miami, Frank is infuriated by Omar's demise and the unauthorized deal struck by Tony. At a nightclub, corrupt detective Mel Bernstein attempts to extort money from Tony in return for police protection and information. Tony angers Frank further by openly pursuing Elvira in the club. Spotting Gina with her boyfriend, Tony angrily beats the two of them. Hitmen attempt to assassinate Tony, but he escapes. Tony, certain that his boss sent both Bernstein and the assassins, confronts Frank, with Manny and Chi-Chi in tow. At gunpoint, Frank confesses to the attempted hit and begs for his life, but he and Bernstein are killed. Tony marries Elvira and becomes the dealer of Sosa's supplies. He builds a multi-million-dollar empire, living in a vast, heavily guarded estate. By 1983, however, Tony becomes unsatisfied with his lifestyle and cocaine addicted. His money launderer demands a greater percentage, while Manny resents Tony's growing paranoia and abusive treatment of Elvira. A sting by federal agents results in Tony being charged with money laundering and tax evasion, with an inevitable prison sentence. Sosa offers to use his government connections to keep a desperate Tony out of prison, but only if Tony assassinates a journalist intending to expose Sosa. Later, Tony, during a public dinner, accuses Manny of causing his arrest and Elvira of being a worthless junkie, causing Elvira to leave him. He travels to New York City to carry out the assassination with Sosa's henchman, Alberto, who plants a bomb on the journalist's car. However, the journalist is unexpectedly accompanied by his wife and children. Disgusted, Tony kills Alberto and returns to Miami. An enraged Sosa calls Tony to promise retribution. Tony, at his mother's behest, tracks down his sister, who has been sneaking out to see a man. The man turns out to be Manny, who Tony shoots in a rage. Tony returns to his mansion, where he begins a massive coke binge. While Sosa's men invade the mansion and kill Tony's men, a drugged Gina accuses Tony of wanting her for himself and attempts to kill him, but is slain by one of Sosa's men, who is in turn killed by Tony. With Tony's men all dead, including Chi-Chi, and assassins at the door, Tony turns a grenade launcher-equipped M16A1 on Sosa's men, mowing down many. Tony is repeatedly shot, but continues to fight until he is finally slain by a shotgun blast from behind. His body falls into a fountain below, in front of a statue reading "The world is yours." I think this sums it up. However, many of you probably don't know a crazy hidden mystery about the cast and the movie. Tammy Lynn Leppert was a model from Rockledge, Florida who spent her childhood competing in over 300 beauty pageants, winning a large percentage of them. She was hoping to transition into an acting career and wound up securing bit parts in a couple of movies, including the 1983 gangster classic, Scarface. However, one weekend in July 1982, Leppert attended a party where something seemed to happen which prompted her to start displaying patterns of erratic, paranoid and violent behavior. During the shoot for Scarface, Leppert suffered a complete emotional breakdown during the filming of a violent scene and became extremely frightened over the sight of fake blood. After a violent outburst in June 1983, Leppert had a brief stay in a mental health center. On July 6, she left her family's home with a friend who dropped her off at Cocoa Beach after an argument. The 18-year Leppert has never been seen again. Police initially suspected that she ran away, but there have been numerous theories about her disappearance. One involves her being the victim of Christopher Wilder, a notorious Florida serial killer who was targeting young models around this time, and there's also been speculation that Leppert was murdered because of her knowledge of a drug and money laundering operation. However, none of these theories have ever panned out and Tammy Lynn Leppert remains missing 30 years later. However, in 2016 a large shipping vessel en route to Havana picked up a young woman claiming to be Tammy Leppert. The ship contacted the Coast Guard, explained the odd event. Strangely, this was the ship's last transmission. The ship, along with its 22 crew and 500-foot bulk containers, as well as one woman claiming to be Tammy Lynn Leppert, a model from Rockledge, Florida. The mystery surrounding the disappearance of the large-scale freight vessel has troubled many investigators. A number of watchdog groups has asked why this case did not draw major media attention. According to a report by the insurance firm, Oceanic Corporate and Specialty, the waters off southern Florida were the site of a quarter of all losses. Hundreds of reports don't draw media attention. Honestly, there has to be someone down there pretending to be Tammy Leppert, because we have had a large number of reports of people finding her, and then the boat is gone. Someone is playing a very strange game. Stay paranoid, my friends.